Attorney General Jeff Sessions recently made some comments about marijuana and heroin. So, historically, Jeff Sessions has been opposed to marijuana, and he's said that good people don't smoke marijuana, and that he's also said that he used to think that the KKK were okay until he found out that some of them smoked marijuana. So he made some statements about heroin and marijuana, and so here's the quote from him. So Attorney General Jeff Sessions said in remarks for delivery this week that he believes marijuana is only slightly less awful than heroin. He says, "I realize this may be an unfashionable belief in a time of growing tolerance of drug use, but too many lives are at stake to worry about being fashionable." And then he says, "I reject the idea that America will be a better place if marijuana is sold in every corner store, and I am astonished to hear people suggest that we can solve our heroin crisis by legalizing marijuana. So people can trade one life-wrecking dependency for another that's only slightly less awful. Our nation needs to say clearly once again that using drugs will destroy your life." So this article had later on from Time magazine had some also scientific statements later on. So here's some of them. So Dr. Donald Abrams says the statement flies in the face of science. He says he's a professor of clinical medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, who studied effects of marijuana. And so he says, "No one has died from an overdose of cannabis. There's abundant evidence that it is a useful intervention for chronic pain, and we may see it useful in harm reduction." And so in the United States, more than 500,000 people have died from drug overdoses from 2000 to 2015, and currently an estimated 91 people die every day from an opioid overdose. And the National Academics of Science, Engineering, and Medicine released a committee review of all research on the health impacts of cannabis since 1999 and reported that marijuana can help people dealing with chronic pain and could also be an alternative to opioids. And also, this article cited a 2015 report from Journal of American Medical Association. So they reported a 30% or more reduction in pain from cannabinoids, which is a compound in cannabis, compared to a placebo. And then a 2014 report, Dr. Marcus Mashuber found that states with legal marijuana experienced 25% fewer prescription drug overdose deaths compared to states where medical marijuana is not legal. And so, as you can see, that marijuana, there's so many different scientific studies saying that it's not awful, that like Jeff Sessions has said. There's a lot of evidence that points to that where heroin is a terrible thing and it's a growing problem in America. So a study released for 2015, Washington Post reported on this study. So it says that heroin deaths surpassed gun homicide deaths, and here's the graph for that. So in 2015, heroin deaths were 12,989 and gun homicide deaths were 12,979. So this is the first time this has happened. And then they also say that in 2007, gun homicide deaths outnumbered heroin deaths 5-1. So as you can see, there's just a giant increase in heroin deaths going on in America. And so it's pretty obvious heroin is way more dangerous and awful compared to marijuana, and like heroin kills people and ruins lives and marijuana doesn't. And so the problem is that right now marijuana is still on a Schedule 1 drug federally, which means it's still federally illegal, and it's only been legal in some states for just a few years, so there needs to be more research done on it. So
target.